On this week's episode, we recap the HPS Conference 2023.
It was our first conference in 4 years, and we have a lot to say.
So stick around.
Hi, and welcome to Rare with Flair,
The podcast where two best friends with the same rare disease are living our best lives. I'm your host, Casey.
and I'm your host, Cassandra. Well, first you may notice that we sound hoarse.
We sound raspy in this episode, but with good reason, Cass, don't you think?
I think so. I was talking to someone today, and I was like, sorry, for like a work meeting. I was like, I'm so sorry I lost my voice over the weekend. And they were like, oh, for fun or because you were sick? And I was like, oh, no, for fun.
Oh, no, we were screaming. We'll get to that later. But no, like we said in the cold open, we just got back from the first HPS conference that we have been to in 4 years.
Oh my gosh. You guys, we did an episode on conference a couple years ago when we had our little virtual conference in 2021. And we kind of recapped what it was like there, but also, you guys, it was so needed. We needed this so badly.
And to catch you up, if you really are the first time listener and you don't know anything about us, HPS stands for Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome. It is a rare type of albinism, and that is the rare disease we both have. And we actually, that's how we met, was an HPS conference.
9 years ago.
Right. And that was
Wow.
Cassandra's first conference in 2014. My first conference was in 2011. I think this was my 10th conference, actually, this year.
Wow.
If you don't, count the ones that we didn't have a conference. So it's just, it was so needed. It was like you said, it was so special to be back together, not just with each other, obviously, but with the whole community. It was so amazing. And we're really excited to talk about it and give a little recap to you all.
We're like jumping right in because frankly, like our little like catch up time here at the beginning is basically exactly what the entire episode is going to be.
Right. This is what we did this weekend. This is what we're catching you up on. Quick disclaimer, we are both very involved in the Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome network, but this podcast is not affiliated with them. And so, our thoughts and our words are our own.
That's right.
But we do support them. They support our podcast. They are aware of it. So we're so happy to spread awareness as much as we can about this rare disorder. And we're really excited to talk about the conference. And hopefully, if you are in the HPS community and you've never been to a conference before, hopefully this will make you maybe want to try to attend in the coming years, because it's a lot of fun, but also a lot of hard moments too, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bittersweet bag of emotion.
Oh, yeah. Really quick before we get into conference, I wanted to update everyone because in our last pod, we weren't able to give an accurate end total for our fundraiser for the HPS network. So I wanted to quickly say that we sold, thanks to all of you guys and anyone else who isn't even listening who supported us, we sold 25 bucket hats and raised a total of $660.
Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much. There's a lot of really exciting research happening, which we'll get into a little later.
Yes.
But your money is going straight to that, straight to the network, to put on these conferences, to fund research, to keep our network afloat, to keep it going. Thank you so, so much. And we're excited to get the bucket hats in the mail. I'm so excited to see it.
I know. I'm so looking forward to it because now it's like springtime and it's warmer and I want to wear it.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited to wear it. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the conference. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's quickly do a little recap or a brief summary of what this is for the listeners. So this conference is really unique. It's not like any other conference I've been to just because it covers a lot of ground. Mm-hmm. Like
Absolutely.
it's a little bit support group and it's a lot of bit scientific research. I don't know. It's it's wild. It's a wild time out here.
Yeah, so it's one weekend. It's a Friday to a Sunday. It starts off on a Friday night. We get to the hotel, we register. There's a few sessions on the Friday. And then we have a big year in review. And this time it was more of a 4-year in review because we haven't been there for 4 years. Then you want to cover Saturday? What we doing with Saturday?
Yeah. Saturday is kind of sessions Saturday or social Saturday. These aren't nicknames that the conference has, but
we
have them. Saturday is a little bit more of kind of a social emphasis. So nope. My brain is shutting down. You guys.
Mine is too. We are both still reeling from this conference. We both just flew home yesterday. So please forgive us. Please forgive us. I've done the same. I've done it already too, where I can't talk. I'm like,
right. I'm okay. Like, what are words? So in our episode that we did a couple years ago, we go into more detail about kind of what Saturday usually entails. But it starts off with this big session that lasts for honestly a couple hours where we call it our family album, and basically everybody gets into one big circle and they go around and every single person talks about, they say hello, and sometimes people just say general sentiments, but in general it's like something that happened this past year and then something we're looking forward to in the coming year. And this is always like a really great bonding moment for everybody, like new people, conference veterans, people that have been involved in the network for a long time, just to like kind of get a very, very brief update on our like community members. And we have a small community, so like this is a really special moment for us. And then later in the afternoon, there are lots of different sessions. Some of them are more informational. Some of them are kind of like group sharing. And then in the evening we have our big dinner where we have like entertainment and dancing, and it's fun.
Yes. And then on Sunday, we call it Science Sunday. This is a day where we all gather in the large ballroom and a lot of our doctors and researchers present their findings and give us new updates on different possible drugs or different therapies available, and also just give an overview of our rare condition. There's a lot that goes along with it. We've discussed it before. We have bleeding, we have lung issues, GI issues, all kinds of stuff. So we have all different specialists in these areas sharing their findings. At the same time as our conference is going on, there is also something called the Meeting of the Minds. And this is also on Saturday, where I think we had 45 or 42, somewhere in the 40s. Do you remember the exact number this year?
I don't actually, but 45 sounds about right. I want to say it was about 45 different doctors and researchers all meeting together in one room to share with each other their findings, and then they shared that information with us on Sunday. And it's really special. We'll get more into that when we, discuss our experience at the conference. But yeah, that's pretty much the overview. And if you want more information, like Cass said, we did do a whole episode on this, but this time we're going to be talking more about this specific conference and our experience at it. Oh, one more thing. So like at the same time throughout the weekend, usually between Saturday and Sunday, someone is doing medical research, like actively there at the conference. Since a lot of us are already there, why not take advantage of that opportunity and do some like specimen sampling? So there have been years in the past where like we give blood samples. Sometimes we've given other varieties of samples.
Yes. Urine,
like stool samples.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot going on, and you can even help the network by like stuffing envelopes or writing thank you notes, all while the conference is going on, and recording videos about your experience to then use in later promotional material. So there's a lot happening in a really short period of time.
There's a lot happening. It's extremely unique. This whole conference happens in a hotel. It's the Long Island Marriott in Long Island, New York. And it's very unique to be getting your blood taken and giving stool samples and all of that in a hotel. I mean, that just, it's very unique to our conference. I've even heard people say at other medical conferences that's not very common. But like Cass said, it really is, because we're a very rare disorder. So it's very rare that we're all going to be in one place at one time. And that there's, if a certain trial needs like 50 specimens. Where are you going to get that? Well, 50 of us are here right now. So let's go ahead and, and give it as much as we can. So, but it's a very small community. There aren't that many of us. And of course, our community is made larger by family members, parents, support people, but the actual community of people with HPS, pretty small. It's a very rare disorder.
Yeah, definitely. And then like there's a lot of like a huge range of emotions this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get more into that again as we like talk about this year. But it's very like emotional whiplash maybe. Like you're so excited and excuse me, there's like so much hope and seeing people that you haven't seen in, this time it was 4 years, but usually it's a year. Just like all together having fun, sharing with each other, but there's also like hard things. This is not really an easy disease to have. And so, just like mutual bonding over like difficult things in our health journeys or, remembering people that are no longer with us because of this disease. It's very, very interesting.
It is. It really, I feel like that aspect of it almost makes the whole thing feel more special. Because we feel this urgency to find a cure. We feel kind of a fragility of life and just like it feels like we're soaking up the moments we have together, in a different way than you normally would because we kind of have to, like you said, kind of look death in the face in a way of like, oh, this person passed last year. We miss them so much. And like, doing kind of memorials for those people and, hoping for the best for ourselves and our younger generations. And it's just like a very emotional time, definitely. But there is happiness and laughter and fun in it too. Oh yeah,
so much.
Yeah.
So much. But okay, so Friday.
Yeah, so Friday. Oh, I'll say first.
Actually, wait. I want to say, like, you got in early.
Yeah, I was going to say that real quick. So, for those of you who might not know, which you probably do, I feel like it comes up a decent amount. I lived in New York from 2016 to 2018, almost 2 years exactly. And I left in 2018, and I've never been back to my apartment since then that I lived in. And I really wanted to see my old neighborhood. I wanted to see what it was like after COVID, if the same restaurants I still liked were still there, and so on and so forth. So I went one day early to the city just with my mom, and we went to my old neighborhood. It was funny. I wasn't expecting to feel anything, but when I walked up to my old apartment, I didn't cry or anything, but I did feel emotional because I looked at it and I was like, this used to be my life. Like I used to walk up these steps every single day. Like this was my life. And so it was really cool. The Duane Reade that I used to go to every day was completely like shut down. It was like weird to see that. But my mom and I had a pretty chill day. We were trying to conserve our energy before we went to the conference the next day. But we went to Sweeney Todd that night on Broadway with Josh Groban, Annalee Ashford, Gaten Matarazzo, like such an amazing cast. And it was phenomenal. I'm a big fan of Sweeney Todd in general before this. And so I absolutely loved it. It was such an amazing experience. It's been a really long time since I've seen a Broadway show. And as a theater lover and a musical theater major, that's such a big part of my life. Yeah. And so that was really, really special too, to get to do that for me. So
that's so cool. That's so cool. Really quick, I want to know because I actually haven't asked you this. Where did you eat? Because I know you mentioned just now like the restaurants that you used to go to.
Oh, yeah. So, well, we tried to go to one of my favorite restaurants that I used to go to, and it had like a super long wait. It was extremely crowded, and it's a really small restaurant. So we just found another cute little diner around the corner, and we ate there for lunch. And then for dinner, we ate at a pasta, like Italian, I call it a pasta place, an Italian place that it was near the theater that I had been to a few times when I lived there too, and I really loved it. So it was cool to go back and see like old places that I used to visit. Yes, it was very exciting. So special. I was going to go to Central Park, but the wind, you guys, was so severe that day, that specific day, that like literally it was, my eyes were pouring water. It was like kind of miserable outside that day, unfortunately. So we didn't end up going to the park, but it was still a fun day.
sad, but still,
Yes.
I'm so glad you got to go.
Yes, definitely. So that was Thursday, and Friday is the day the conference starts. So, Friday.
It usually starts like sometime afternoon, like late afternoon, early evening. But this year there was a few sessions that were a little bit earlier. So
We're laughing because something funny happened. We'll tell you later.
Okay. So like Case was already there. She got there a little bit earlier. So she went to the hotel earlier on Friday. My flight out of Columbus got delayed a little bit, and I was already going to be getting there like probably around like 2 or 3. But you know, between landing and going from LaGuardia to all the way to Long Island with New York traffic, like it was going to take a while. But Case and I actually had a session that we were going to do Friday, but it was at 3:00. And I'd kind of seen it in advance, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
She told me, like, yeah, in a few days before, I don't know if I'm going to make it to that session.
I really wanted to. So it was a session about like makeup, and you know, we've done an episode about makeup, but we had more updated information because since that episode we've been using even different products from what we had talked about then. But yes, I did not make it.
No.
I got to the hotel like an hour after the session, which means it would have ended already. So it's fine.
It's okay. The session was very lightly attended, and I think it is because it was like the first session of the conference. A lot of people are still flying in. A lot of people are still getting settled in their hotel rooms. So a lot of people weren't there. So it was a very small session anyway. I didn't feel too like stressed. You know, I feel like if it would have been a big one, I would have been nervous without you. But it was actually a very, very small group. But Cass had put together a really cute like QR code that people could scan, and it takes you to all of the products we use. Honestly, we could maybe even share it with the listeners.
I'll probably put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
So it's got like links to the different products that we're gonna be talking about, but
Yes.
can I share it with the pod?
So she missed that session. That's okay though. We had another session the next day, which we'll talk about when we get there. But she did arrive, that afternoon. And, yeah.
This hotel this is a personal beef.
Oh.
That got us through the week. And this hotel used to have a Starbucks. This hotel no longer has a Starbucks.
I forgot that it used to.
I think it did because, I used to be able to get coffee in the hotel. Was it very good? Not really, but it was coffee and it was at the hotel. When we got there, I was with my mom. When we got there, we realized, like, we asked the front desk, like, hey, do you guys have coffee? They were like, oh, yeah. It's back there. It's drip coffee, and it costs $6. And I was like, no, that is not happening. So, all weekend, we were,
yes,
and by we, I mean me, I was placing Uber Eats orders from the Starbucks down the street because none of us had cars, and, like, it was probably about 1.5 miles away, so to walk there would take a while. And we ended up amassing larger groups to get in on these Uber Eats Starbucks orders. It was a time, and honestly, I think it was well worth it.
That's hilarious. I am not a coffee drinker. I will drink it. Like, if I'm at a coffee shop, I'll get a coffee, but I don't, like, need it, or I don't, like, crave it in the day. But my mom does, so my mom was jumping on those orders too when they would do it. And even though that is a flaw of the hotel, this hotel legitimately raised me.
Oh,
and
yes.
I'm kind of obsessed with it because we have our conference at the same hotel every year, and we know it like the back of our hand, and it just feels...
Very little of it has actually changed besides the lack of coffee.
It feels like its own character in the HPS universe. Like, it goes right along with it to me, Like, you always know who you're going to find in the hospitality lounge. You always know what's going to be over here. You always, like, it's just, it really is like a second home or something. I don't know. I love it so much.
The layout of this hotel, like, lives in my brain rent-free. Even the years that we weren't going there to have the conference or didn't have the conference at all, I can imagine walking through this hotel and where, like, pretty much all the meetings take place in the different areas, and it's special. It's a special hotel.
It really is special, and I feel like even though it had been 4 years, I kept telling everyone, it feels like we never left. Like, it felt like we just all got right back into the groove, and it really felt like no time had passed at all, and that was really special.
Yeah, and there was, plenty of catching up to be had, but also, it's like when you have, like a long-distance friend or a friend that you don't talk to so often, but every time you do talk, it just feels like old times. That's pretty much the general feel of the conference, and it was really, really lovely. So we had Din Din.
Yep, we had some Din Din.
Same Din Din as every other Friday
Which
conference.
I also love. I love that it's the same. Like,
it's the same meals, you guys.
I love that the food is always the same. It's like literally.
It's so dependable.
It's literally my home. So it's this pasta dinner. And it was really good. And then we were ready to do the year in review. And I don't know about you, Cass. Year in review is one of my favorite parts of the whole weekend. I
really love year in review.
I really love it. It's really special. So our founder, Donna, gets up at the front in the big ballroom area with everybody there and does exactly what it is called, does a year in review, goes over a lot of the different things that have happened this year, not only in the network, but just with people in our own community and what we've all been up to.
Yeah. We talk about, any big fundraisers that people had or conferences that, we broadly as the network have been a part of, recognizing the people that work in the network office, recognizing people that have passed, and then any new like faces that have jumped on board in terms of medical, any new like studies or things that we are now affiliated with as a network. It's a really cool and exciting thing that just like sets the tone for the entire rest of the weekend.
Yes, and we were involved in this year in review quite a few different times. The podcast itself, Rare with Flair, got a shout out. And that's special because it's so weird to me that we have not been to a conference since we started this podcast. Right. This podcast is nearly 3 years old. This summer it will be 3 years old. And we haven't been able to talk about it at a conference or acknowledge it at a conference because we have not had a conference. I mean, unless you count the virtual ones. So that was really special. Cassandra and I and another one of our members, I guess saying names is okay. Another one of our members, Ashley, got up and gave a send-off to one of our doctors who has done so much to us, who is changing, kind of leaving the network, I guess you could say, not fully, but
she just took a different job from where like she was previously working for many years that was kind of associated with us. And so we kind of, we, and by we mean like our founder has this tradition of creating a lot of like quirky parodies to well-known songs that are, specific to our rare disease, and it's just kind of part of the character of the network. So there was a parody to Sweet Caroline to send off this really well-known doctor in our community. So it was really fun that we got to do that.
It was special. We led the song, and we gave everyone out in the audience lyric sheets. And during the chorus, everybody stood up, and it was a surprise. So it was really cool. We kind of sing quite a few times throughout the weekend. We'll get to that. Music is kind of a big part of our community. We've told this story before, but back in the early days when we were trying to get the NIH to study our rare disease, some of our members sang for the doctors. And since then, we have used music and singing for our doctors to give back and to thank them, but also to kind of humanize ourselves. You know, doctors and researchers often just see patients in a textbook, or they see these like, you know, kind of photos that make everything look scary. And we want to, you know, humanize this disease, show that we are real people with talents and hobbies and interests, and give back to them and entertain them because they work so hard for us and we're so grateful.
Yeah, and it was really funny and just fun. So we got up on the little stage and we had microphones.
Oh no, are you going to tell the story?
I want to tell this story.
Oh, please.
It's so good.
Please.
So the doctor that was like leaving us had, she was up on the stage, like Jenna had invited her up. And she was there, and so then we went up on the stage, but there were like a lot of bright lights on this stage, and you know, as we've explained before, we don't do well with the bright lights. Mm-hmm. And so Case asks like into the microphone, like, "Hey, where is she?" So that we could like sing to her. She was next to us, you guys, and
she was right there. I wanted to like know where she was so I could like face her while we were singing. And then I was like, "Oh, we're visually impaired," and everybody was laughing, like maybe at me and with me at the same time. I'm not sure.
It truly sealed the deal. Honestly, he was. I also did not know where she was, but it was in the moment that you had asked that I was kind of looking around to my right and left, and then I think I saw like a shape in a chair, and I was like, "I think that's her."
That is so funny. I love that. That was a lot of fun, and then. As a lot of you also remember, Cassandra and I back in February flew to Pittsburgh to be part of some medical research. And Cass and I went alone together. Alone together. But
Steven Universe.
Yeah, exactly. I thought of it too. But all in all, 12 of us, 12 HPSers took part in that research study. And they did a really, really special thing where they honored us. They called us the Daring Dozen. I felt like we were like on an Olympic team or something. You know, like the Magnificent Seven or like the Fab Five or whatever. And they gave us these nice fleece vests that were embroidered that say HPS Network Research Team on them. And we all got up on stage and took a picture. It was really special.
It's really cool because borrowing some words that Casey had used later on in the weekend, like we don't do research to get accolades. In fact, like it's a little bit of a sacrifice to be part of research. You know, you have to sacrifice a little bit of your own pride and dignity in order to help contribute to something that would make for maybe the greater good for the rest of our network to develop therapies and treatments and potentially a cure. But like at the same time, it was really special to get recognized for some of that effort that like we put in. And, you know, Pittsburgh was pretty low key, honestly. Like we had a lot of fun with it. And as we had talked about when we like got back, it was fun. We still got to we went to a bookstore, you guys, and we went vintage shopping. It was a lot of fun.
We went to a cheese shop. It was wonderful. But no, I agree. Like that was a surprise to me that they did that. Yeah. You know, and that was really special. And yeah, like you said, I mean, different research, some can be harder than others. We had fun with that one because we got to be together. So it felt like a little getaway.
It was pretty short as far as research went. Like the whole process took maybe 20 minutes as opposed to some other research that we've been involved in that is not that short.
And that company is doing really amazing things. We're not going to say a bunch of names on this episode just because we don't know how much we can share right now. But it's really cool to feel like you're part of research that's actually going to do something. Like, it feels really exciting stuff is on the horizon, you guys. So it felt really cool.
Especially that specific one. And I think ultimately the fact that the 12 of us, you know, Casey and I included, really readily volunteered ourselves to participate in something like this hopefully means that in the future, should more come, that we would also be ready contenders should we qualify for whatever it is that we're trying to test.
Right.
So it is really cool and it's exciting to know that, there's at least 12 of us right now that are ready and willing to participate when the time comes.
Absolutely.
But I think that was like most of Friday. I think the rest of Friday is usually just socializing at the bar.
There's a little like
catching up with people.
After party at the bar.
They have like some appetizers and yeah, it's good. And that's, I feel like, the first opportunity where people get to catch up with each other.
Yeah, I can't think of it if anything like extra funny or different happened that night at the bar. I don't really think so.
I think Case and I were just kind of gossiping.
It's like, okay, so this year's conference theme was family reunion, and we call it that even though, we're not family members, but it feels like you're gathering together in a big group with people you only see once a year, and it kind of feels like a big family reunion. And it is just kind of funny because when we say gossiping, we're not like talking bad about people per se, or I mean, like, not that kind, but it's like, it's kind of just like updates. It's like, did you hear so-and-so got married? Oh, well, did you hear so-and-so got listed for a lung transplant? And so that's the kind of gossiping we were doing of like, oh, did you catch up with this person? Did you meet this person's fiance? Did you meet that person's new baby? Like, I mean, it really is a family reunion. People come, they bring their new husbands, wives, fiancés, babies, and it's really cool because you're like, oh my gosh, that person like brought a new person into our family. And so it's really cool to see, actually.
Yeah, that, and also like kind of medical gossip of like, oh my god, did you see like so-and-so's on oxygen? Like, oh no. God. Like, or like, I don't know, all kinds of wild and wacky stuff that I feel like only really applies to being in a space with your own community, but it is really fun. And I think we made the most of it that Friday night.
Yeah, we've like caught ourselves like what we like to call quote unquote medical gossiping before, and we'll like be talking, and it's like very normal for us because all this terminology, medication, all of that is like very much in our day to day, and it's very normal like vocabulary for us, But I'll be on the outside looking in of our conversations, and I'll pause and be like, "Do you hear us right now? Like, this
just zoom out a little bit.
This is the weirdest conversation I've ever. It's like, did you hear that person hemorrhage? Like, it's like it's terrible.
Did you hear like that person's on whatever drug now?
Yeah, I know. It's yeah.
It's a time. It's a time. But anyway, so Saturday. Okay, so Case mentioned the meeting of the minds, and that always used to happen later in the day, like around lunchtime. But this year, I think they had a lot more to talk about, so it happened in the morning, which was like kind of new and exciting for us. And we always do something special there.
Yes, we always sing. Again, we sing for Cassandra, I, and Ashley. We sing together. So we went in there and it was another little parody to the song I'm a Believer. And it was really cute. And like I was saying earlier, it's a way to get the doctors, it's a way to start off their day, to give them a little entertainment before they get started with all the serious medical stuff, to give them some smiles. We want to make them smile, make them laugh. We made it fun. We were clapping and trying to make it fun for them. And one of the doctors at the NIH, when I was at the NIH in January, asked me, "Are you guys going to sing at the Meeting of the Minds this year?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." And she said, "It's really something we all really look forward to. And so we hope you do." And that was really, really special to hear. I'm glad that it's something that it makes our network unique. It makes us stand out, and it makes them remember us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this meeting is a really special meeting where, like, they're in a room for hours. And different presenters are giving new information, and it's a closed meeting. So we're pretty much only there to sing, and then we leave.
No, it actually feels cool to get to go in there.
I know.
No other HPSer or community members go in there. It's just the doctors, researchers, like medical, it's only the scientists, and so it's kind of feels like we're sneaking into something cool.
Right.
We got a VIP pass to go in the meeting.
It's really cool. And we hear that, like, spots to speak in this meeting are highly coveted. Like, people are kind of competing, like other scientists, like they all really want to share updates and to talk. And like, I hear that they are carefully selected.
Oh, I didn't even know all of this. I love this.
Yeah, it's
I love
kind of I mean, they look through the presentation, and they meaning probably the network, heads and personnel, and they're like, yeah, you can give a talk. And like, I think it's, some people don't get to speak in the meeting of the minds. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they probably ask questions after the different presentations, but still. But even though it's a really cool opportunity for them to all like share amongst each other, like, this is an hours long meeting about like very high level, like high end dry stuff sometimes. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we get to start it off with like a quirky song, is just really cool. So I'm glad we got to do that.
Yes. Like, HPS affects so many different parts of the body too, that some of these like researchers and scientists, doctors, are all like only that specific thing. So mm-hmm. they get to learn from other people and hear their findings and and so for them to all share with each other, that's helping find a cure, because that's helping each other understand other parts of this disease, So,
right.
Pretty cool.
That may not be like their strength or whatever.
Yeah.
Specialty.
And
but then we had our family album.
Yes, family album, like Cass was describing earlier. We all sit in a circle, and usually people cry. I would say.
In general,
and we have microphones passed around and stand up and say, something that happened last year, something we're looking forward to this year. It usually, it's not always medical, but a lot of times it will be like, last year something bad medically happened or that kind of thing. And so that's why it might get kind of emotional for people.
Yeah, between that, I mean, again, like the gossip that Casey and I were sharing, like, sometimes it's also really exciting. Like, I got engaged this last year. Like, yay, how exciting.
Yeah.
Or like, my kid is going to college next year. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
So it's all kinds of stuff. But then it's also like, I started getting pulmonary fibrosis, and we're all like, oh man, like, oh, that's tough,
Right.
It's hard. It's a lot. Or, someone lost someone for any variety of reasons. But, it is, again, a quick way that we get to catch up with our community.
Yes. And for those, I just want to make sure everyone understands everything we're saying. Whenever we say pulmonary fibrosis, that's the lung disease of HPS. Just to clarify if anyone does not know. But yeah, so that's one of the more devastating parts of the disease, and a lot of people do share different things about that in the family album. But it is an exciting time too. A lot of marriages, babies, graduations, a lot of good things too, So It's a really bittersweet time, that album. I'm really glad we continue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So after that, we have like some sessions in the afternoon, but there was some research going on at the same time, and oh my god, I have to air grievance. So part of the research that was going on this weekend was some just data collection about like your history, your family's history,
your entire life history.
Basically, yeah. And, the researchers that were conducting this study, they were like, yeah, this will probably take some time, but, it won't be too bad. Legit, they were asking, like, everything that has happened in your life. They were like, tell me about all your oral surgeries and every time you've ever bled in your life. About how many times do you think you've bruised in your entire life?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It took so long. I had someone that was helping read the consent form to me before we started, and I was like, hey, you're doing a fantastic job of reading this form, but it is very long. Can you skim read this to me? Because I'm probably just going to consent.
The consent within itself was like literally 15 pages long.
Literally. It was so
I'm
long.
not exaggerating. It was like 15 pages. I did not read most of it, I'm sorry to say. Should I be saying that right now? I'm kidding.
You have a
I
copy
definitely
of it. You can review it.
I wink definitely read every word. I read every word. Promise. I promise I did.
Hey, you have your own copy and you could review it. And honestly, a lot of that, what was stressed, which is a lot of what's stressed in most consent forms, is that you can withdraw at any time. So if you don't like it after you read it, you can withdraw.
I have worked with this company before, and they essentially told me it was very similar to what I had signed a few months ago. So I trusted that as well.
Yeah, probably.
They told me that. They said it's pretty much
long.
the same thing you signed a few months ago. I was like, okay.
They did not tell me that.
Oh.
Which is why I was like, oh, I should probably read this, right? Like,
it was cool, though. We had these, like, students, like, helping us read the forms. That was nice because we legally blind, if you didn't know. And, like, yeah, we can read, but our neck will be broken by the end of this thing.
And our eyes will be sore.
And our eyes. So, yeah, we had to do that. And yeah, well, we'll get to the other Sunday part of that later. But yes, that was long. And around that same time, Cassandra and I went to go do some filming for some interviews. We had a camera crew conducting some interviews about research and the importance of being involved in research. So that was really cool too. Yeah,
it was really fun. So they did this, I want to say in like 2014, 15-ish, this like recording, also talking about like the importance of the conference and what it feels like to be back. And the video that they had was very old.
Like I look terrible in that video.
I think it was 2014 because I was still, actually, no, I don't really know, but I was still in high school, so my hair was long, and you guys, my hair has been short for almost like 7 or 8 years. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it was either 14 or 15 because I cut my hair in 16 and my hair was long too in that video. It's
so funny. And like we saw it again before we had recorded, and we were like talking about all the fashion statements that we had that were just true to the time.
I had a neon infinity scarf on. I
had like a statement necklace, like, because 2010s, that was the thing.
Yes. Oh, yes. So we did that. That was a lot of fun. There were a lot of different sessions going on. I went to a few of them. There is a session. So the lung disease, pulmonary fibrosis, occurs in types 1, 2, and 4. There are a lot of different types of HPS. I believe 11. It's 11 or 12. I believe 11.
But any type after 4 only has just a handful of people that have been documented with it because it is super rare.
Right. So I went to this session for all the other types who are not supposed to get pulmonary fibrosis, the lung disease. And it's a good session because a lot of us, a few different things. A lot of us, first of all, might feel like we have no right to talk about any of our health problems since the lung disease is worse than what we're going through. And we don't want to be complaining about things happening to us in front of someone who's about to get a lung transplant, like, obviously. So that's a good moment for us to kind of be able to talk about different things we're going through without feeling insensitive to people with lung disease. And then also, we've talked about survivor's guilt before, of the fact that we are not supposed to get pulmonary fibrosis and how that makes us feel. So, it's a good little group. I go there every time. I don't really necessarily need like the support group part of it as much anymore because I've gone for so many years, but I kind of go to help, like essentially help this woman who runs it named Gina. I kind of help her run it. She was like, I need you there. So I went to that and that was a lot of fun. Did you go to any others?
Actually, so I went to the opposite of that session because I have the lung disease subtype, and it starts to affect people anywhere from your 20s to like on, and it highly varies when people develop it in their lives. But as you get older, the presence of that becomes more apparent. And so, now I'm in my mid-20s and I'm looking ahead and thinking like, okay, I know this is probably going to happen sometime. And that's an aspect of the disease that I haven't learned a lot about just because it felt so far away for so long. Like I've had this diagnosis my whole life. I kind of understood the fact that I was going to get pulmonary fibrosis in my life, like when I was a teenager, and I didn't even really like process it too much. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's a thing that'll happen, whatever. Yeah. I just accepted it as fact, and now I'm like, okay, I need to start information gathering so I just feel more prepared whenever that comes. And so I went to a session about like lung transplantation, and it was really, really well done. The information provided was super helpful, and I feel like I'm going to keep learning more about what that entails, and just like kind of, I don't know, knowledge is power. So I remember like before getting bowel surgery, back almost 8 years ago now, learning about it and I learned a lot about it at the conference from someone who had it. And so learning about it was extremely helpful and made me feel less afraid. You're afraid of the unknown. So obviously, like, it's kind of scary knowing that it's getting closer and closer every year, but also it is really important and really special to see some of our community members that are like currently listed or have gotten transplantation, and it's not great for everyone, but you got people to look up to and ask questions to, because it's so early in the game, and to clarify, like, I don't have pulmonary fibrosis yet, but it's so early in the game for me to continue learning that, like, I have a lot of, like, naive questions that I just really don't know what I don't know. So it's good to have those people in your community that you can ask that to, especially from, like, a patient perspective, because you can ask your doctor, but, like, it's so much more powerful to ask a patient. And so that was a session that I got to go to, which was really good.
Awesome. Yeah, love that. Then we hosted a session together.
We did. It was so good. It was really fun. I mean, I don't know if it was good, but it was fun.
It was so incredible. No.
We did a good job.
We did a great job. No. I think it did go really well, though. I enjoyed it.
I think so.
I had a great
People
time.
asked really good questions.
So, yeah, our session was called Low Vision Mobility Tools. We talked about the cane and guide dog. Cassandra has been a cane user and a guide dog user, but we split it up where I specifically talked about the cane and Cassandra talked about guide dogs. It was very similar to a podcast episode, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's maybe combined of our second episode, which was like overview of canes and guide dogs. And then also we did one that was called, I think last year, right? That was Low Vision Tools Mobility
Tools
Sesh.
Therapy Sesh.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So it was kind of both of those combined, and we sped through it because we only had like an hour, and we still got done earlier than I expected. I was like worried, since we have talked about this on the podcast, like it was gonna take a long time for us to get through all the content, but we did it, and people got to ask questions, and it was really cool. So I hope that we can do other sessions like that in the future, just because I feel like a lot of people just, again, they don't know. And so since we know and have been experienced using these tools for many years, like, it's cool that we then get to participate in this information sharing that happens at the conference.
Yes, and it was pretty well attended.
I would say so.
We had a good number of people in there, unlike the makeup session. But no, it was pretty well attended. People had good questions, and we answered them the best we could. And I feel like we're not experts on the subject, but we do know a lot about canes and guide dogs. Like, I feel like we could talk about it for hours, and we have this podcast. And I really did feel like in a lot of ways it was like a podcast episode, like I said. So it was a lot of fun. It went well, and our moms were in there supporting us. Sometimes our families have come in the past, our dads, our siblings. This time, just our moms joined us at the conference.
And I think usually our moms come.
Yeah.
Just year after year. I don't think they would miss it for the world.
It's their community too. You know,
exactly.
They love these people just as much as we do. So
now I will say there were people that were asking for my dad, so he was missed as well.
Yes, a few asked about mine as well, and so yeah, definitely. But
then we kind of got ready. Like we had a little bit of time in the afternoon, but we kind of got ready for dinner where we also sang another song.
Wow, we're just singing everywhere at this con. So this dinner is, I mean, undoubtedly probably the best part of the conference. It really is amazing. It's this amazing sit down, like 5-course, literally 5 courses meal, and we have entertainment, we have awards, and then after dinner we have dancing, and but not to skip too far ahead. Yeah, we get dressed in nice outfits. It feels kind of like you're going to a wedding or a nice reception. And yeah, we did a sound check with Ashley's voice teacher, who's kind of our music director throughout this, and she put a medley together for us all about family reunion, coming home, and it was 3 songs, and we each of us kind of took a solo song, and then the other 2 were doing harmony backgrounds or harmony, behind. And that was a lot of fun to do. We've been singing together for a long time now. So
I know. I think the first time I was with you guys was maybe the 2016.
I was going to say 2016.
Conference.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I started attending in 14. But it's a lot of fun, and we talked about this medley before in our conference episode, and I think in our music episode we talked about the medleys that have happened throughout the years, and so it was a lot of fun. It was a good length too. So Casey got to MC this dinner as well.
Yes.
There were some other talents that performed. We had some other vocalists and a flautist, and we and then some of the families that have been affiliated with the network for years and years and years, they have adult kids, basically they're 30-year-olds that put on costumes at some point throughout the dinner and run around and do some kind of funny skit. So that was, a mainstay that we got to see again.
Yes, loved that. Yeah, I co-hosted with a few other people. I was on the conference planning committee. I work some with the network, so they asked me to be a part of that, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, just fun skits. We get to give awards and really recognize the people in our community, both doctors and community members who, fundraise for us or do a lot of great things for us, and we get to really recognize them. We recognize some birthdays, got some birthday cake. It's a really special time. We ate our meal. I was eating when I could because I had to get up and talk a lot, but still got to eat, so that was nice.
Important. Casey was very worried about this.
I have hypoglycemia. If I don't eat, I will pass out.
But legit, the servers will take your food.
They take
before
it.
You've if you're away from the table, they take up your plate.
They took away my
it's
pasta.
Rude.
I gave my mom the job. I gave my mom this job days prior because I was stressed. I said, please, your job is to not let them take my food. Because I know that it gets, you start talking to people and you get distracted, And they did take one of my courses, but everything else I was able to eat. So.
Yeah, important. Very important.
Yes.
But we danced, and because this rare disease affects so many, disproportionately affects so many Puerto Ricans, as we've talked about before, just because of the founder's effect that happens on the small island of Puerto Rico. We have a lot of Puerto Rican representation, and so they play a lot of salsa, merengue, and so that's always a lot of fun to, have this great mixture of music on the dance floor. And they took requests this year.
Yes. So, okay. So here's my, not to complain, but Puerto Rican music, great, love it. People get really excited about it. They all come out on the dance floor. It's awesome. But then they were playing a lot of oldies, and I'm down with oldies. It was a lot of 70s and 80s, and this is outside of the Puerto Rican music. I'm talking about just your typical pop, a lot of 70s, 80s, and it was a vibe. It was fine, it was a vibe.
Yeah.
But Cassandra and myself and one of the younger members who's in her teens, we were like, we need some modern music up in this joint. And I was like, obviously T Swift, like, gotta go with the T Swift.
Right.
Obviously. So we requested, I can't talk, we requested Cruel Summer. I think you were the one that actually asked, right? Like, you went up there?
But you
I
they
forced her
approached
to.
me because I'm like, I don't have too much of an issue talking to strangers.
Right.
And so they were
And I
like,
do.
they were like, go request Cruel Summer. And I was like, I'm sorry, what am I requesting? Okay.
Yeah, she was
So I
like,
just
what's it called? We
I
were
was
just like scream singing, I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you, like
It was
screaming.
so fun.
And we were like,
I got to dance with our teenage friend has a little sister who's like 5 or 6, so I was like dancing with her until she got bored and ran away, which
we
was fun.
also had a cardboard cutout of one of our head doctors on the dance floor on wheels.
He had like
A full
like
body.
one giant cardboard head and an inflatable tiny body.
Yes, on wheels. So we were dancing with him on the dance floor, and I was dying laughing, and I was like, only at this conference, Cassandra and I, we were doing a line dance, like, thank you, sorry about my sneeze. We were doing a line dance, I think it was the Cupid Shuffle, and like we, out of our peripheral vision, we see this horrifying face. Not that his face is horrifying, it's just like not real.
But it was huge, and it was just coming from the side, and I like practically flinched. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die.
Anyway.
And he's like a big deal person. Like, he's like the head of the NIH.
Yeah.
He's just on like an inflatable body. Oh my god.
And his name tag was even around his neck. It was incredible.
The attention to detail.
Then we were like, we need some Paramore up in here, We really, really do. Cassandra and
It was
I,
like toward the end of the night.
We're big Paramore fans. We spent a full 20 minutes deconstructing their newest album together at the conference. And we were like singing bits of the verses, and people were like, what are you talking about? And we were like, never said I wasn't petty. Like, we were like really, really being obnoxious
We're getting
about
into it.
We were getting into it. And Cassandra was like, we've got to play Misery Business. I was like, some of those lyrics are inappropriate. Let's go for it, though.
It was like the end of the night. And plus, it's like she talks real fast in the verses, so I didn't even notice until recently, like, what she was actually saying. I was like,
And it's,
right.
okay, to clarify, it's very mildly inappropriate. It's not anything crazy.
Oh, no. It's not
like,
anything insane.
Yeah, it's
one word that is not
and it's not
appropriate.
even it's not even a full-blown curse word. It's just not it's not a nice word,
It's not a nice word.
And a lot of children are at this conference. But they were like singing Let It Go on the dance floor, And we were like, okay, like, let's go request this. So you want to tell that part of the story? Because it was
I had already talked to this DJ before, and he was the one who played Cruel Summer, and I walked up to him and I was like, hello, I have another request. And I told him, and he, I just said the name of the song, and he was like, who's it by? And I was mildly offended that he didn't immediately recognize it.
That he does not know the masterpiece that is Misery Business.
But, it's fine. It's whatever. So, he looked it up and he was like, oh, look, I have it. And I was like, cool. So, we were ready, we were waiting, and then suddenly they announced basically the end of the night, and I was hurt.
They end the night. Cassandra literally turns her entire body and just stares at this DJ, like stares him dead in the eye, like, I requested this song, and I was like really
double-crossed me.
I was hoping he was going to do an encore. I was like, oh, he's acting like the night's done, but you wait, he's going to play my song. And we were upset because we were going to go hard for that song, but it's probably for the best because our voices were already gone at that point. Already gone. I was like, how are you going to sing? Your voice is gone. You were like, I'm going to push it just for that song, but
I was willing to make the sacrifice. And it's so funny, I was staring this man down, but y'all legally blind, I had no idea if he was looking back at me.
He probably wasn't even looking back at you. But yeah, that was about the end of that night. We shut down the whole dance floor. We were the last. They were ripping up the dance floor as we were still standing on it. They basically kicked us out.
It's yes, we need to leave.
But then we woke up bright and early for Science Sunday.
Yes, and usually this conference historically was on Daylight Savings Weekend in the middle of March. And, you know, God bless, because I'm so glad that we stopped having our conferences that early, because that meant that people who had been like partying the night before had to also now lose an hour of sleep.
Yes,
to
exactly.
go to Science Sunday.
Kind of a misery. But we
Kind
got
of
up for
misery
Science
business.
Sunday. Misery business. I have never made it downstairs to breakfast once in my life. Never. I sleep in until the very last second that I can. But I actually did. I took a picture of my muffin to show Cassandra. I am documenting.
She beat me down.
I beat her down. I said, I'm documenting. I made it. Science Sunday is great. We start off with an overview of HPS. By the very man himself that was the cardboard cutout on the dance floor.
He came to life just to give our presentation.
To give a presentation. And it goes on for like 6 hours or something?
It's like going to school. It's like an entire day of school of different presentations. And we break for lunch. But, you know, we have like hematologists sometimes. This year we had a doctor who was talking about, you know, lung transplantation, so like a pulmonologist. We got like a gene therapist in the past several conferences, which is always really cool talk, even though it flies right over most of our heads.
Yeah, we have GI people come talk about the, you know, stomach issues of HPS. I don't know if we did this year. Did we? Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. Oh my gosh, so sorry. Yes,
he was there.
Oh, I know.
Poor guy. Like he's been at the conference, I think, as long as I've been at the conference, so that like probably 9-ish years. Poor guy had just like flown in from South Korea. Yes. So his time zone, he must have been exhausted.
I feel bad that I just asked that because I saw his talk and I love him. But it was a long day. You know, when we were younger, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but when I was younger and I would, you know, be at the conference, I would kind of Sunday, I would go to some of the Science Sunday, but I would kind of be chilling in the hall talking to people and whatever. But this year I was like, I'm older, I'm wiser, I want to know things. And I was really excited about learning. And I actually never left the whole Science Sunday. I listened to every single thing. And my back was actually in agony by the end because I had been sitting in the same spot for so long. But I was excited to actually like hear all of it and not miss out on any of it.
And it was cool because, so like, you know, I was at the table with Case and with my mom and with Case's mom and some of our other like close friends in the community. And so like we were like kind of whispering to each other as we heard newer things or things that we didn't know before. And we were like, did you know that? Oh my gosh. Like, and it felt like intense commentary too.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. You always learn something new. And I think I had known this before, but I'm going to say it again because I just find it crazy. I know that the higher number subtypes are even rarer, but there are only 42 known people with my type 3 type of HPS, like with the non-Puerto Rican type 3 HPS.
Yeah.
42?
Oh my gosh. It is so wild. Well,
I love having that number. I love having that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I know. Well, I fully processed that my subtype, type 1, the first one to be discovered, was only discovered a year before I was born.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And it was discovered after I had been born because I'm older than you.
You were about like 10.
Oh, well, my type. Yes. I was saying your type was even discovered after I was born because I was born
also true.
Yeah. So, yeah, my type, I think, was discovered in the early 2000s. I want to say 2001 or 2002.
Yeah. So puts you at like 9 or 10, which is wild.
I was 9 or 10 years old. So crazy. We also got some blood taken on Sunday.
Hey, research.
Hey. It's literally hilarious, y'all. We're in this hotel. It's literally just like a hotel conference room, and there's tables set up with people in lab coats and
like sterile
all kinds
equipment.
of things ready to take your blood. We are not at a hospital. We are not at a doctor's office. We are in the same hotel that we have never left this whole time. And we got a gift card for participating.
Yay! It was really nice.
Really nice. I mean, once again, not something they need to do. We would have done it. And I want to
do it for free.
I want to say we got like 35 samples that day, which
That's huge.
Is a lot, because there are literally probably only like 40 people there with HPS in general. I don't know. I that's just a number. I don't know, but
it's also like limited to people that are over the age of 18. So we had a lot of younger kids at this conference, which was really exciting. But at the same time, they couldn't be part of the research because they're too young. So
that is the truth. That's the truth. Anything else you want to say about Science Sunday specifically?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people like kind of leave during the day, like throughout the day. People are like saying goodbye as they're taking off to go back home. But it was cool because we also, I don't know, after being there for a couple of days, we get to talk to some people that are newer to the community. So I had a few conversations with some moms that had not been to the conference before and had a lot of questions. And so, we talked about the pod a little bit, but also we, I don't know, I feel like it's a good time for, that like knowledge sharing, that what I'm gaining from learning about, older people than myself with like lung disease or, the process of transplantation. I get to share about like bleeding disorder management or like GI management or, it's really great. And obviously it's really unfortunate, when these things come to people, especially GI stuff, which doesn't happen to every HPSer. So it always kind of breaks my heart a little bit when a young person ends up developing bowel disease, like I was young when I developed bowel disease. But at the same time, I think that at that age, I would have appreciated that as well. And I did appreciate that. So, I think that that's a really cool and important bit that also goes on.
And speaking of moms, one of the moms was so kindly wearing our Rare with Flair sweatshirt.
Oh my gosh, so sweet. And we didn't get a picture.
I'm so upset we didn't get a picture. We all changed clothes for dinner and we didn't find her again. But we sold those sweatshirts 2 years ago for a fundraiser. And that was so sweet that she was wearing it. And it's really great to meet the new families. It's overwhelming for them. Yeah. But it's great that we are able to kind of be there for them. And and then, like you said, everyone's kind of leaving. There's a community member who puts together a slideshow.
Like that weekend.
That weekend. Wild. So he comes, he takes pictures all weekend and edits it like that day. And we get to have this closing ceremony slideshow, which is really special because it's like a staple for the conference that we've always had as well. And that's really awesome. Cass and I ended up staying that night at the hotel as well. We ended up leaving the next day, so we weren't rushing out. And there were a few other families and things that stayed, and we got to eat dinner with them and kind of have a chill night, hang out,
Chat, catch up. Case and I were talking about how all our best heart-to-hearts happen after 10 p.m.
So there's it's going to be hard to explain this, but there's a hospitality suite, and then off of that is this like little room that's like kind of by the pool.
It almost feels like an outdoor patio, but it's inside.
Right. It feels like an outdoor patio. It's like in the pool room kind of. It's a little room, and somehow we ended up alone in there. Like, everybody left at some point, and they were, like, right in the next room, but they couldn't hear us, and we couldn't hear them. And, we had this, like, the deepest conversation at, like, 11 p.m. out there. It was really good. It
was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, every time we get together, that happens. Every single time.
Yeah.
And it's always, late at night.
Oh, yeah. It happened in Pittsburgh. It happened when I visited Case for her birthday. Like, the last night that I was there, we had this... we had other chats, but we had this, like, really great heart-to-heart the last night that I was there.
Yeah, all three of it's hard to rank those three. They've all been stellar.
They've all been really different, too, I think.
Yeah, they actually have. They're you would think they'd all be about the same topic. They've all been completely different topics.
They're not.
Yeah, I remember what each one was about, though.
I know. Oh, my gosh. But
this is the juicy stuff you'll never catch on the podcast. I'm kidding.
It's just like, just the way that two besties chat late at night. It's exactly those chats. Life, love, emotions, fears, like all those kinds of good things.
Oh yeah.
But, the next day was pretty quick. Like, we just took off earlier in the morning, and we said bye to some people on our way out, and it was a good time. Oh, my gosh.
And we went to the airport together just to soak up every last split second with each other, pretty much, which was, like, sad to say goodbye, but we got some Nerds gummy clusters.
Yum, they were so good.
Which was so good. I still have some. I'm still eating them.
I ate them all.
No, but it was so good. So good to see you and to see everyone else. It was really, really a great weekend, and there's a lot of exciting things happening with research. So, you know.
There's really cool stuff on the horizon. Like, the network is kind of going, I feel like, trying to be a little bit abstract about this, but like, I think they're going into a new phase of the research, which is actually very interesting to be a little bit vague about it, but we're getting different kinds of involvement with different kinds of companies, so really cool.
Yeah, no, it feels like an exciting time for the network, and as new families get involved, that's exciting too, because we see new faces who are probably going to jump on board, and help us out, and that's really exciting. So, and there were a few people that weren't here this year that were very missed, that could not make it for one reason or another, and we always miss those people for sure.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a smaller group this year, but it still felt the same. Like, I don't feel like I missed, I mean, obviously we missed the people that weren't there, but like, I don't feel like it felt like different or too small either.
No,
I just felt like the same conference that we know and love.
I agree. Very, very warm, fuzzy feels for this conference. It's a very special one. It's very unique, and a lot of love in that hotel.
So much love.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for listening. We don't have a game this week just because we knew that this was going to be a long and
it was. But thank you so much for listening. We love you all. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.